everyone, I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to This Week in Anderson. And as joined me, as always, is my co-host, Steve Ellis. And Steve, super excited to have our next guest, a guy that we both know, former classmates, and also is a former teammate of mine at on Anderson on the football team, and just was a hell of a football player. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but I'm excited to catch up with Steve.
Love going back and hearing the old stories, and I want him to hopefully bring up some stories about you.
It's all going to be good too. Sure, it's all going to be good. But as we said, joining us is our guest, Steve Greene. And Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time. I've been watching you for a while and kind of interested to talk to you.
I appreciate it. And right off the bat, we're gonna slam Fred Crace because you obviously knew what you're doing and you got on right away and didn't have to have his son come help you. So I mean, we're starting off on the right foot, and we just know it's Fred, right?
Yeah, I didn't have those big earphones on either. He probably didn't even have them plugged in.
He probably didn't. He didn't. But thanks again for joining us. So go ahead. We're going to go ahead and talk about. We kind of talked off air a little bit, but let's talk about living and growing up in Anderson. What side you lived on, and some of the former people that you had in your neighborhood.
Oh yeah, I'm another one of the Summit people, right? So
yes, Steve.
My backyard. I was 2 doors down from Don Marcello.
Oh, okay.
And Fred was kind of like, we were on Lowest View and Fred was on Lowest Dale, and our backyards kind of connected. So it was a fun time, between third and high school, third grade and high school. It was crazy. Some story. I could tell some stories, but I'm not sure the statute of limitations ran out on those yet.
That is a good neighborhood. And I also believe, were you close to you weren't close to the Dianas, were you? Or were you from?
They were down the end of Muskegon,
okay,
towards the other side. But they I think they moved kind of early after I got there.
Okay.
But we had Jeff and Jay Skinner lived at the top of the street.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know if you remember Mark McDonald. He was the quarterback for
Yeah.
McNick. He lived on Lowest View, and then all the people over on Lowest Dale. I think the Ramirez's were there for a little bit, and weren't the Thomases over there?
Yeah.
And then Tom Merchant was right at the top of the street on Muskegon as well. So there's a lot of people. There's always something to do, some kind of trouble to get into.
Well, talk about that though. I mean, like with us. I mean, Steve, and we've talked about this on other podcasts. Like we get up in the morning and we're out playing either wiffle ball, football. Was it kind of the same thing with you with all the neighborhood guys and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. We would get up, play in Freddie's backyard or playing one of the cul-de-sacs, play baseball, football. Could always go up to Summit and find a football game.
Yeah.
One time we were dumb enough to play golf in our neighborhood. I think it was me, Donnie, and Fred. We actually real golf balls, and we would tee off from like Don's front yard and try to hit it over houses. And
oh my god,
that's pretty good.
I guess that
didn't turn out very well. Involved in that?
No. Well, I think it was just myself, Don, and Freddie. I think someone else. It might have been. I think Jay Skinner played with us. That was Jeff's little brother.
That's funny.
So you had said off the air that you had moved around a little bit from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh to Cincinnati. What year did you move down here to Cincinnati?
That would have been the winter of '79, like Christmas of '79.
Okay.
That would have been my third grade year.
You actually moved on Christmas? You actually moved on Christmas? Or?
Yeah. So I left my school in Pittsburgh when Christmas break started, and then went to Summit coming back from Christmas break.
Wow. Do you remember the first person you met?
Yeah, I do. It was Brad Kent. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I haven't probably seen him since high school, but he's the first person I remember meeting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, wow. It was Summit was a fun school to go to.
Was that hard for you to being of that little age and going into a brand new school to just that whole? I mean, that had to be traumatic for you. I mean, to make that move and then Christmas and then you're going into a brand new school right after Christmas break.
Dan, it was so long ago, I don't remember.
He got over it.
Yeah, I guess it was different from what I remember, but I don't remember it being really super stressful or traumatic.
That's true. It is third grade, man. I gotta forget about that, man.
It's not like I had any girlfriends I was leaving. I had a crush on my second grade teacher, but that wasn't going anywhere.
So you had all after school activities with all the neighbors, everything, but you started to get into playing sports. Obviously, you played football. When did you start playing football, and was there any other sports you started playing?
Actually, so growing up, I played knot hole, right? The old
Nice.
District 5 knot hole. You go sell the stickers every year to try to raise money for I don't know what. But
Yeah.
I did that. I actually didn't start really playing football seriously until my freshman year. So I played baseball up until through 8th grade, and basketball. I played the Kiwanis Basketball League,
Okay.
and then switched to football my freshman year.
Wow.
And that's but other than those neighborhoods, you'd learn a lot about playing sports just playing around with people in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Learn
No
the
question.
rules. Um, learn how to be tough, especially growing up with Don. You had to figure out how to pick yourself up and
Right.
keep going, because Don was, I won't say he was a bully, but he was
Pretty close to it.
Yeah. But it was fun. That's how we learned. I played a lot of sports around the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And back then, organized sports was just, we'd practice on Wednesday and have a game on Saturday, and that was it.
Yeah.
Right.
We'd have to fill the time in between to learn how to play. And I go back every once in a while and drive down Lois View and look where we used to play baseball. And when I was a kid, I thought it was big, but now it's it's like 4 steps to first base.
Did you guys belong to the Summit Swim Club?
We switched back and forth. My parents switched back and forth between the Y and Summit Swim Club. I think we're at the Y mainly.
Seems like everybody was at Summit, I feel like.
Yeah. I was there for like 1 year, and I think I wanted to go there because all my friends were there, but I don't think my parents liked it.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't play tennis or anything. So
like Fred, yeah.
So I believe, and help me out here, Steve, you were in the tween years of middle school. Were you at the Forest Hills Junior High, or was it just all at Anderson?
Yeah, so 6th grade year was still Anderson Middle, and that was the last year. And I believe that would have been your guys' 8th grade year, right?
Yeah.
So that was the last year, and the next year we went to the Forest Hills Junior School and got thrown in with all the Turpin people for 2 years.
How'd that work out for you?
It was fun. I mean, it was different because growing up, you're taught to hate Turpin, and
right.
Then all of a sudden you're going to school with them and you're friends with them, and you realize they're all great guys. And so it was the sports were interesting. I think I did like my 8th grade year, tried to play football, and grades got me that year.
Oh, really?
I think my mom made me quit.
Oh, wow.
Did you do anything else like track or?
No, it's too slow for track. Yeah, but I did like I said that up through 8th grade, I played baseball.
Okay, all right. So I mean, but it had to be pretty crazy there when combined with all the Turpin kids all in one school.
Oh yeah, I remember like 8th grade and 7th grade, there was 2 football teams for each grade. Right, there were so many kids coming out to play that they had to split it up into, I think it was like the A team and B team, or there was just a lot of newness and going to a new school.
Did they split it like this is Anderson and this is Turpin? Did they do that, or did they just?
No, it was more like first string, second string, I think.
Really?
What I remember. Yeah, I remember Mr. Griffiths was the.
I was just
going to ask about that.
Yeah. Him and another gentleman, I can't remember his name.
Eads.
Eads, maybe. He was a younger guy with dark hair.
Yeah.
But it was, from what I remember, it wasn't split up between Anderson and Turpin at all.
Oh, okay, wow, that's kind of surprising. But so let's after the middle school years, let's transition into high school. Let's get into the football and your career. You played, like you said, 4 years and played varsity. Varsity for 3 years. You're captain. Talk about some of your coaches. I know that you and I both, when I was a senior, you were a sophomore. We had Coach Stowe. I loved Coach Stowe, obviously, but he was that old school Ohio State stuff where we ran the ball. We weren't we weren't very good, but I love Coach Stowe. Give me some of your thoughts about playing football at Anderson, playing for Coach Stowe, and then also transitioning into Coach Soriano.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting dynamic that happened, right? We all love Coach Stowe and Coach Letterby and everybody there, but it was a different type of football, right? It was like the Woody Hayes, 3 yards, a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of technique. Just one good example I could talk about is playing offensive line, right? Coach Stowe would be like, just fire out low and block somebody, and be stronger and tougher.
Right.
And then when fast forward to my senior year, when Coach Soriano came in, the detail he went into on blocking was just kind of blew our minds, right? Because we went through my class, between freshman, sophomore, junior year, we went through 3 different offenses. Because if you remember, Coach Stowe didn't have it coordinated all the way up through.
Right.
So we had to learn something new every year. And then when Coach Soriano came in, and just blew our minds, because we didn't realize that there was that much detail that went into it, because we're never exposed to it. Right. And
do you think, just as I was when I coached that first year with Soriano, I thought I knew football, but I didn't know football, because what he brought in was just, like you said, was just so much. It was so detailed oriented. It was, it was just so much more than what you and I played under Coach Stowe.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I transitioned from tight end to center that year, and just going from, going through the blocking process. You probably remember this. Mm-hmm. We would do that little first half jab step.
Yep.
Nothing else. Just do that 5-10 times in a row, then add the next step. And it was different because it was something we hadn't done before, and it was a little uncomfortable in the beginning. It made us think a little bit more what we're doing, but we did it so much, it made it muscle memory.
Right.
And so at the time we were kind of like, oh, what's going on? Right. We know how to block, but obviously we didn't. And then after doing it, going through camp and 2-a-days and watching it on film, he would point out, watch this block. This is exactly the drill we did over and over again. Yeah. So I think that was the big difference between Stowe and Sirianni. I'm an Eagles fan, so I keep saying Sirianni. Sorry, Coach Siriano. Yeah, that was the big difference, was just the detail of everything that went into football that we, going through those 4 years and my 3 years of Stowe, we didn't get. Right. Not that Stowe was a bad coach. I loved him. I'd run through a wall for him, but it was just a different game when my senior year came around.
Yeah, and it was. Do you remember the one thing I remember is the shoots?
Yeah.
That was a big difference too, because I just remember, like you said, we were so used to just standing up and just blocking, and this forced you to come like up and under. You know what I mean? I just remember that was, and it just made a lot of sense.
And that's what I was getting on going through those steps of the blocking. If you didn't do it, you hit your head on the top of that. That it was a PVC bar, and he had a helmet on. But but those helmets back then weren't the most comfortable.
Yeah. So talking about that, you kind of gave us some information too, that you talked about from your sophomore year to your senior year, you played at least one down at all 5 positions on the offensive line. It's just absolutely crazy to think about. So talk. I thought you were a damn good tight end. And then was that hard for you to not move from tight end to playing another position? And talk a little bit about all that. And I think a lot of it, honestly, when I remember coaching that 1 year with Soriano, it was more out of necessity. We needed you to play other positions because we were so shorthanded, and we just needed your ability to do that. Is that kind of how you thought about it? And just talk a little bit about that whole transition for you.
Yeah, so I played tight end up through my junior year. I didn't, when you were a senior, I got in a few. Actually, my sophomore and junior year, I played more defense than I did. I never really got into tight end. It was yourself and Mark Stoller were the 2. And then my junior year, Paul Richard was behind me, and he was just a freak of an athlete. Absolutely. Right. So he played tight end too, and I kind of played a lot. They moved me to linebacker that year, so I played more defense. But going into the senior year, I knew Paul Richard was there, and there's no use of me playing tight end with him there. So I've never talking to Coach Soriano and volunteering to move to center. And I was like, I've never played it before, and we were walking up the hill of the practice field. I remember this like it was yesterday, and he gave me the ball, showed me how to snap it, and said, "All right, now we'll make you a center."
Wow.
It's a lot different.
Absolutely.
Playing that, but it was fun. I'm glad I did it. It was a different experience, and And then getting, someone would get hurt, I'd have to move the tackle or something, and
Yeah.
they'd bring someone else in at center. But it was like I said, I'm glad I did it. And I was real good friends with Jay Sullivan at the time, who was the quarterback, and
Yeah.
so we were able to practice a lot, just getting that snap down. Not to say I didn't mess up a few times.
And that was, also back then, the numbers were thin. So you had to go. I remember you going both ways a lot. A lot of guys went both ways. They played offense and defense. Obviously, they don't do that anymore. But that was another thing that you pretty much played the whole game, didn't you? Offense.
Yeah, and that was a big. So our senior class, I think we had 12 or 14 people in it, and I think 2 were ineligible most of the year. So we didn't have a whole lot of numbers. So a lot of the class behind us, the juniors, played, and going into that year, and that was the other big change between Stowe and Suriano, was the off-season conditioning.
Oh yeah,
I remember Coach Stowe, he'd go down to that old weight room, and
Yep.
he'd have a little checklist, and you sign in, and he didn't really pay attention if you were
there
doing it all or not. Yeah, so you could tell who was working.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, we'd always blow it off and do something. But
Right.
going into our senior year, after Coach Suriano was hired, so he was still back east, right? So he hadn't moved yet. And the other 2 captains, Corey Mitchell, ran track, and Matt Bailey played baseball. So I had to go to the workout things and write down who was there, and I'd have to call Coach every day and tell him, or maybe once a week, and just tell him who was there that week, who was there, and it was getting people to get into that off-season program,
Right.
Especially after what we'd been through with not taking it serious. It was a big change. That was another big change, and I think that did feed into how our senior year played out, because like you mentioned, a lot of us went both ways, and I can remember the second half of some games just dying. Yeah. Just absolutely dying. Didn't remember, like, this goes to show how good Coach Suriano was. Outside that Forest Park game, the first week, we were in every game at halftime.
Yeah.
It just until like 5 minutes in the third quarter, and it was like a bloodbath after that sometimes.
I mean, I think you were 1-9, but like you said, those games were so close. And I tell you what, man, I remember being involved in all those things with Soriano after the game, man. He just man, he was not fuming at you guys, just so upset that you guys would lose. I mean, it was he took it to heart, man, and obviously that's why he turned that program around, because he cared so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he called offense and defense that year, didn't he? I'm pretty sure, if I remember right. I know Coach Corbett was signaling everything, and I'm not sure who was calling the plays.
I can't remember when Coach Parrish, came. Was he there when you were there?
Yeah, Parrish was there my senior year, yes, but I don't think he was calling the defense.
Yeah, I can't remember. They had some old guy there too, and I can't remember what the freak.
Ken Lazarus, Coach Lazarus.
And I can't remember what he did, and I don't remember what he had. So I don't remember if he did. I know he did offense. I'm not sure about the defense.
But he put you could just tell he put so much into it that, and just. I was thinking about the game we did win, that was the second week we played on a Saturday afternoon. Do you remember why? Because they had the band expo like the night before. So could you imagine that happening after that year?
God. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? You gotta be kidding me.
That's exactly how it would have been.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I was asked to ask you, you talk about all these positions you played. Was there an experiment that at one point in time you were like in the defensive back or strong safety?
That lasted like one play.
Uh-oh. What happened?
It was in practice. I think it was my junior year, and Coach Letterby I was playing linebacker. For some reason, he stuck me at strong safety. I guess I just wanted to see if I could do it, and it didn't work. No, it didn't work at all. I remember I didn't know what to do. I mean, I just stood there, and somebody caught a pass right in front of me, and it was like, he's like, no, go back to linebacker. That's it. We all still reacted. So it was very short-lived.
Took that whistle and smacked you on the helmet like he always did.
It is ring. Ding.
Yeah.
All right, so let's transition into baseball. You played baseball at Anderson, is that right?
Yeah, my senior year. You guys remember Coach Heimball?
Oh yeah.
So he was my out of my senior year for something. Might have been study hall or something, and he was talking because he was the baseball coach. He was talking about it. I said, I can make it. I haven't played in 3 years. I can make it. Then he told me I couldn't. I was out, so I'll try it out. Right. I ended up making the team, and then actually for the first couple games, I was like 4 for 9 or something, and had a couple doubles and a triple. And then we went and played Loveland, and someone threw me a curveball.
Done.
That was it. I was like Serrato in Major League. I never saw a
Yeah.
fastball again, and then
Welcome to the club.
it got so bad that people. I was like, first of all, I didn't know they scouted baseball back then, right?
Yeah.
So they figured I couldn't hit a curveball. It got so bad towards the end of the year. I'd play right field, and they would DH for me. So they'd let the pitcher hit.
Oh, that's bad.
So, who else was on that team? Do you remember?
Baseball. I think I see Brad Kent was on there. Brian Feldkamp, Matt Bailey, John Paxton, Scott Collins. I'm trying to remember.
Did Ramirez play?
Mike.
Billy would have been gone. I can't remember if Mike played or not.
Yeah. I don't think he did.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I lost my yearbook from that year, so I couldn't tell you. But that's most of the people I remember. Mark Harwish played, and Barry Martin. So I mean, it's coming back to him. I think about it for a little bit.
Boomer wasn't his. Was Boomer in your?
Boomer's a year older.
He was a year older. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if he did or not.
Yeah, I didn't play baseball that year. I was having fun.
Yeah. All he has to say is we were Fred and Don and all those guys, so we know about
that. I know nothing.
What do you got, Danny?
What do you got, Steve?
It's on baseball. I've already done it. The coach.
Wow.
Wow.
My baseball career wasn't that illustrious.
Just ruined the perfect show.
Listen, this is what happened. So we did our podcast yesterday, right? He does this to me all the time. He'll take my question. So he knows we got these questions that go back and forth. And last night in our podcast, he took 2 of my questions and he looked and he just started going like this, like nodding his head because he knew he got me. So he just tries to get me all the time, Steve. So that's what it is. So I did screw this one up.
Yeah, yes, you did.
So we did talk a little bit about coaching. You did coach with Coach Soriano. Talk a little bit about that because I'm telling you, man, that man was very detailed oriented. Talk about his meetings, his his Sunday. I don't know if you did. I remember doing them. Was those all day Sunday reports?
All day Saturday, all day Sunday.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about coaching football at Anderson.
Yeah, so that came about kind of a weird. I was down working out, and they had an opening on the 7th and 8th grade staff, and he asked me if I'd be interested. I said, yeah, So we did that, and I think I did that. I think so. Was your brother Tim before or after the playoff game? Was he?
Timmy was so he graduated in 95.
Okay, so that was after. So that was I think his senior. That was his junior year was my last year coaching.
Okay.
So the first year I did was with Lou Andreatis and his senior year.
Okay.
So that would have been the year before they went to the playoffs.
Oh, yep. Okay.
So it was, so I started doing that, and that was a whole nother education on Coach Soriano.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because I saw from the player side, but from the coaching side and the detail that he put into anything in the playbooks. And so you remember like the junior high staff would go scout, and the freshman staff would be like on the sidelines, they flop, and I was the get back coach all the time. So that an important job. So, but even scouting, I remember the first time we did it, having the packet of papers to fill out with like most random questions,
Yeah.
Like what would they do if we put twins into the sidelines? And I remember that was with Rob Fu, and I'm like, how do we answer this question? Right?
Yeah, I was the same way, man. I didn't know. I mean, I thought I knew football, and I really didn't. I mean, I couldn't. Sometimes I probably looked like an idiot in those meetings because I didn't know what the hell was going on because we were never taught that or coached that with Stowe, unfortunately.
And then the film sessions, right? That was a whole nother level of having to pay attention, and because you'd get one position to look at the whole game, and you'd have to grade the guy and figure it out. And then coach had already looked at the film, so he kind of knew what everybody did. So he had to really be on top of things, or he'd catch you.
Yeah.
But there was a good education. I got kind of in the beginning, I was kind of thinking that's what I wanted to do. I ended up changing my mind, but that just the stuff that he knew and that he imparted on everyone was incredible. And I could even see the difference between my senior year playing, just seeing the coaching staff and what they did, and those years coaching, and seeing how much more responsibility they all had and understood what he wanted, because they'd all been there. I think Coach Parrish was still there. Coach Corbett was still there. Coach Lazarus was gone.
Yeah.
The other guy, Rick Bleiber, that was the other guy.
Bleiber, yes.
Bleiber, yeah. So he wasn't there, but it was I'm trying to think of the other coaches that were there.
Yeah, Pete was Scott Peters there yet?
Yeah. Peters and Joe Collins were the freshman coaches, and then I did watch Coach Peters' pod, like what he did it last year. He told a story about how we were sleeping in the gymnastics room.
Yes.
That was my fault, by the way. So the week before, I had missed the meeting, and coach was pissed. But somebody called me like that later in the day and said he was just pissed. So I called him up and apologized. Then we had to go scout somewhere up around Columbus. Yeah. And so we got done scouting, and our dumbasses had a little bit of fun. That we're driving back. We're going down 71. And I'm like, what time is it? Thuman's driving. I'm like, what time is it? And he said it was like 2 or something. I was like, all right, I can't go home. You got to drop me off at the school, because there's no way I'm missing another meeting. So we had a key to the gym. We all went in there, curled up in the mats. And then I still remember this. I was kind of laying, you walk in the door and there's mats there. I was laying on the mat, and I saw coach comes walking, and he was carrying his binder. He always has coffee in his hand.
Yeah.
And he just stops and looks around and just goes, he doesn't say a word, just keeps going.
Oh my God. I wish
there was no way I was missing another meeting.
I wish we would have had cameras back then, and
no.
Cool to see that. That would have been classic.
Oh, I was all snuggled down into the wrestling mats.
That is so funny.
I was comfortable. So it was, but it was fun. But just the stuff I learned about football from him, just even watching football now today, you get a better understanding of what's going on the field, and your micro view when you're playing.
Hey Steve, so he still does we do a show every week, and we talk about Anderson, the game they played, the game coming up, and we do a live broadcast at on the corner there. It's Anderson Bar and Grill now. It's right there where
around
Nagel and Smott, and Soriano comes in there, and he's the same way when he does a show, man. He gets so fired up. He's like, he's talking about the guy. I'm telling you, if you play good, you're going to win this game. And he
do his voice awesome.
he goes great, and he still goes to Panera every day and does film, and he works with It hasn't changed. I mean, he's still got that same desire and that intensity, and he's been on Spectrum. He does games on Spectrum every week on high school football.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think the last time I saw him, I did run into him at Panera.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
That was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, he loved that place.
So you had talked about Don Marcello and some of those other guys from the neighborhood, but was there any other guys from football or for your classmates that you still keep in contact with?
I mean, obviously Fred, I talked to him probably too much. I still talk to Dave Shea a lot. I talked to, other friends that didn't play football. Classmates, it's just social media stuff now. Every once in a while I hear from Corey Mitchell. Nothing. I always seem to miss the reunions, and I'm going to try to make the golf thing this year.
Oh God, that'd be awesome.
I think it's the first year that that weekend's been open for me.
Oh, that'd be great. Got to get Fred to come. Tell Fred to come down, man.
You don't want to see Fred play golf.
I would love it.
He's got I'm going to give him a call.
Danny.
He's got the best. He's got the best putting stroke you'll ever see.
He's probably got that big handle, like that big, like those, I would love it.
It's
No, I
like
hope they
this.
do,
He goes
man.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm going. I saw it came out. I'm going to register for it, so
Okay.
I'll
No, that
most likely
sounds
be there.
that sounds
But
awesome.
reunions, I haven't. Last reunion I went to was like 20. But I'm still everyone I want to communicate with. It's social media,
Yeah.
so I kind of keep up with what's going on.
So where do you live now?
Just outside of Kansas City, on the Kansas side. It's a town called Spring Hill, which is a little bit southwest. I lived in Overland Park for 20 years, and I just moved it not about 3 miles south.
Is the weather about the same there as it is here?
Today it's nice, like mid 70s today.
Nice.
It's
It
cold
was
here.
free. We had freeze warnings like the past 3 nights,
Yeah,
but today it got up to the mid 70s. It's supposed to be warm from this point forward.
Oh,
I think you're right. Yeah.
That's good.
You got all that flooding though. I haven't seen that.
Oh,
Yeah, that's awful.
yeah. It's worse it's been in a while.
That's awful. The one thing I did forget to ask you about though too is one of the things we didn't talk about. We like after high school, did you have any offers to go play football? Did anything happen with that? I forgot to ask you about like the recruiting part of it. I know. Did
Yeah,
you
like
any offers?
not really. I mean, I had some small schools like Dayton and I took a visit there. It didn't go very well, I don't think. I went to Georgetown, Bluffton, Finley. I think I took a visit to. And then I looked at, Jay Sullivan went to West Liberty, and I looked at going out there. I just didn't want it. So I took like a year off, and then I'd sent some tape into UC because I was going to might as well try to walk on, since I'm local. And
Yeah.
they had just gone on probation, if you remember back then.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was pretty bad probation. So I'd sent it in at like the beginning of the season and expecting like the next year to have maybe a chance to walk on. And like 3 weeks later, I was at my parents' house. I'd been out having a little too much fun the night before. My mom knocks on my door. He's like, some guy named John's on the phone. I'm like, John? I don't want to John. So I pick it up, and he's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. We need walk-ons. We need people to practice. And you had sent these tapes in. You want to come play it? I was like, sure. It'd be great. Like when he went to start, he's like, come in tomorrow for a physical. I was like, tomorrow.
Wow.
So it was like that. They needed people that quick for practice. And it was John Harbaugh.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. How about that?
So he was getting all these walk-ons together, but it was, I did that for the rest of the season. I went to practice and worked out with them and stuff. Got to go on the sidelines for games. Obviously never played, but it was. And then after that season, I was just like, it's just not for me anymore.
Who was the head coach?
That was Tim Murphy. That was like his first or second year.
Yeah, Murphy.
Because whoever was the coach before, I can't remember his name, got UC put on probation. And this is how bad the probation was when they would do their offensive and defensive sessions. I had to play offensive tackle on a scout team against the first team defense.
Oh,
and I was like, 220 pounds.
Great. Yeah.
So that I don't think I was given to give the best look at that.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
But it was a fun experience. I remember being at one game and Coach Letterby, remember Coach Thomas?
Yeah.
They were up in the stands. He came out and talked to me for a second. So it was.
Oh, that's cool.
It was fun. It was a good experience. But after that, I realized this. My playing days are done.
Yeah.
And then it was actually that next spring when Coach asked me if I wanted to coach.
Oh, that's cool. I had no idea that you did that. That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome memory.
Still great.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I was in no shape, and you come in 3 weeks into the season after sitting around for a year. I was in no shape to play football.
Yeah,
it was fun nonetheless.
That's pretty. You still have any of your gear from that or anything like that? Did they let you have anything?
No. I don't think I want any of that gear. It was all the old. It was all the old logo, and I don't think I got the top notch equipment when I was there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
So, Steve, married, kids?
Yeah, I got 3 kids. Yeah, now married. Got 3 kids. None of them play sports at all, which is all right, I guess. They're all,
what are the ages?
They're all 25, 21, and 11.
Okay.
Yeah, the two older one lives in Chicago, the oldest one. The other one goes to the University of Kansas. And the 11-year-old is kind of like a hillbilly, likes to hunt and fish and do stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
I just cannot get him into sports. I didn't force him into it, but I just,
Yeah,
they weren't interested in it at all.
Yeah, That's funny how that stuff happens, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it really is. But
yeah,
no, that's awesome. So I probably should have prepared you, but you've probably seen them with all these other ones that we do about the favorite memories and everything. So I need you to give me your favorite high school memory, give me a college, and then maybe a favorite coach memory or a favorite coach or teacher. So let's start off with your favorite high school memory.
Well, okay, first I'll kiss up to the host here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so there's two like they relate to football, right? I don't want to get into the other favorite memories. That's there's still people out there might watch this.
Yeah, that's good.
So no, yeah, I did say this on Facebook. I do. You were great when I came as a sophomore, right? You know, because all the drill, because you played defensive end too, right? So all the drills I did was with like you, and so you did a good job showing me, show me the ropes and learning how to do that. But one person that I I don't think you'd probably even think this, that helped me out more than anyone was Lee Shannon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And this was after you left. This was my junior year. They had just moved me from defensive end to linebacker, and that's totally different.
Right.
You got a lot more stuff to worry about. And I remember in 2 days getting frustrated. Sometimes when I got frustrated, I kind of got a little aggressive.
Yeah.
And so I said, screw it. I'm just going to run in anything. Cause I was, some reason I was having trouble picking everything up. And then Lee, he was playing guard at the time. And you could tell I was getting pissed off. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cuss.
That's all right.
Did I say that?
All good. All good.
So you could see I was getting upset. And so after practice, I didn't want to go in the locker room yet because I didn't want to deal with Stowe and Letterby, and because they were there on my ass the whole practice.
Yeah.
And so I just sat back a little bit, and Lee was leaving, and he turned around and came back. He spent like a half hour with me, just talking and showing me stuff that helped me out a ton going forward. And from that point forward, everything just seemed to click.
Wow,
nice. But he was, and I haven't seen him since high school, I don't think.
Yeah.
I haven't even heard anything about him, but he helped me out a lot.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So that was good. College, I don't know if my favorite memories are, I can put them out there, but the one thing I will say about college is, the friendships that I made from third, like I'm friends with Fred. I've known him since third grade.
Right.
Right. So my favorite part about college was still hanging out with those guys, even though we all spread out. Right. A bunch of them went to Ohio University. I stayed in Cincinnati, so we would always get together.
Yeah,
we just had a lot of good times. There's more of the friendships, right? And that was, to this day, we're still all pretty close. We don't talk all the time, but we're all still really close.
Yeah.
What was the third one?
The one is a favorite coach or teacher.
Mrs. Bruff.
Barbara.
I'm just kidding. When you guys asked that, I was watching.
Fred said that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching that. As soon as you guys asked that question, I was thinking he's going to say Miss Bruff. And then I called him right after I watched it. But from teacher wise, probably Mr. Letterby.
Yeah.
Just because, he familiar with him and as a coach, and just his sense of humor, and he was a good role model.
Yeah. Great dude.
I imagine I never had Soriano as a teacher because he teaches, my senior years, he was teaching phys ed, I think. But so I can't really speak to that. But Letterby was definitely, Mr. Heimball too was one of my favorite teachers, just because he let me get away with a lot more than other teachers did. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Steve, man, it's been awesome catching up and going down memory lane and all that stuff. And I was sitting there, I was, before we went on, I was just thinking about, all the rough times we went through for football. And then, just to see it where Anderson football is now, it's just absolutely crazy. I mean, I've told this story before and it'd probably be, I don't know, you'd probably be the same way, but when I got to announce that state championship game and Anderson won a state championship game in 2007, I literally was just almost in tears because I'm sitting there thinking, remember back when, no one cared about Anderson football back then. They just didn't, and I remember my senior year when we went we were like 2-1 the first 3 games or something like that. And I thought the town was going crazy. I mean, because we won 2 games and, we didn't win it that much, but I mean, is it for you as a former player seeing the success at Anderson? It's got to be gratifying for you too to see what they've done especially.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing it firsthand back then in the early 90s. So the year we played Princeton and beat them in the playoffs. Hold on, my computer does this weird thing. We played Princeton in the playoffs. We had to, it was myself, I think Rob Thuman and Dale Adams, I think, had to go scout Princeton because it was like week 9 and it kind of looked like Anderson and Princeton were going to play in the playoffs. So we walk into Galbraith Field and we got our Anderson stuff on and we're walking up through the crowd to sit down, and let's just say they weren't very politically correct on some of the stuff they were like they were giving it to us like we had no chance to beat them, and then we beat them, right? And then the next year, towards the end of the year, I think we still had an outside shot to make the playoffs, but so coach sent us up. We were scouting. It was Princeton and somebody I can't. But that time we walked in, they had a nice place set up for us. People were talking to us and being nice. So I mean, that's really when it clicked. How far the program came. That we're getting respect out of Princeton, and because there's all that stuff that happened before that, like the Jerusalem Mark Edwards head-to-head battle that year. That was the year, the playoff year, right? There's just so much stuff that built up to that, and just to see the respect that we were getting just being scouts. And when the year before it was, they wouldn't even give us a place in the press booth, and we'd have to sit amongst the crowd and listen to them heckle us.
Yeah, that's crazy. But Steven, it's been awesome catching up with you. We really appreciate it. And adjusting with us last week after those storms and everything, we appreciate it.
Sorry, I live in the land of storms.
Yeah, oh yeah, you do. You do. Yeah, but we really appreciate it, man. It's been awesome catching up.
Yeah, thanks for your time. I'll probably see you guys in a couple of months.
We hope so, man. We hope you can make it.
Awesome.
Try to bring Freddie Crace up here, man.
I gotta entice him and see if there's like a heavy metal band playing downtown or something.
That's it.
That would be funny. I mean, even if he doesn't golf, he can go in the golf cart with us and drive around in the golf cart. I mean, just do something to get us up there. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Well,
it's good seeing you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. So you've been watching This Week in Anderson. So for Steve Ellis, Dan Albers, and Steve Greene, we'll catch you guys next week.